coming together, my dog. It's coming together.
Hey, that's CJ on the track.
Black Scully on check. Got a little black tea on check. Welcome to another marvelous episode. This is episode 67. Super excited for this day. Super excited for this episode. We got a lot of great news to share with you all today. If you haven't seen it already, CFB Nation preseason top 25 is out. This is, like, for me, a couple years in making, something that we knew in the long run we always wanted to do, and then we figured out the formula of how to do it. Of course, everybody on CFB Nation voted on it, but more importantly, we got some movers and shakers in the industry who voted on it as well, and that's what made it spectacular. We appreciate the feedback. Good comments, bad comments, we don't care. We appreciate all of it, and I will throw jabs with a couple of you, just friendly jabs, of course, in the comment section, because it's almost college football season, and we should be debating these things because it matter. And before we get into on today's docket, we got CFB Moon in the building. He'll be joining us. I think this is the third time he's been on the show. So we're going to have some great discussion today. Let's get into on today's docket for our Into the News segment. And Moon will be joining us for our Into the News segment. We got Todd McShay, crowns Texas Tech NIL power move. It takes money to make money in this industry, and if you want to be a really good program and recruiting isn't your best metric of doing it, you have to do what a team like Texas Tech was able to do. Marcel Reed is on his revenge tour, and the team he's talking about in particular is Texas. I love to hear this, bringing that rivalry back. It matters. It matters 100%. Greg Sankey heckled at Wrigley. Shouldn't he be? I've been telling you guys the entire time that there's been a cold war between the SEC and the Big Ten, and to be honest with you, it's something that a lot of people just didn't want to talk about, but this is real. He's got heckled, and of course he wants to play the 9-game conference schedule, and It's crazy. It's crazy. But, SEC gets heckled all the time for their conference schedule. Ohio State quarterback decision incoming. We don't know when, but at some point, they have to decide who's going to be the starting quarterback between Lincoln Kienholz and Julian. Sayin. Everybody that I talk to within my circle believes 100% without a shadow of a doubt it'll be Julian Sayin. To be honest, I'm not so sold on that, because if it would have been, that announcement would have been made at spring camp, or that announcement would have been made earlier in fall camp, like what they did in Tuscaloosa. They made the announcement. It is what it is. So, also on our Into the News segment, we're going to talk about Kirby Smart's confidence and Nate Frazier. I like what they have to offer at that running back room. And to really hear Moon's perspective on a lot of these topics is what I'm most excited to hear. And then Rich Rod, he's talking about his quarterbacks. And, Rich Rod loves to talk QBs. Also, we're going to react. CFB Nation preseason top 25. This is the first time that, other than when I did my top 25 poll and when we released both of our individually, this was post-spring, Moon joined us for the show. But to react to CFB Nation cumulative top 25 poll, that's going to be dope. So we're going to get into that. We're not going to talk much about it. And then, of course, on our governor ruling segment, we're going to talk about Michigan sanctions. So this is what we're talking about in this episode. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for you all to get to see this content. Governor of College Football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two great
CJ on the
defensive
track.
minds. They have to be better on that side of it. Alrighty, and we have Into the News as promised. We have CFB Moon in the building today. He is the host of World of CFB, that college football show that covers all levels of college, not just FBS like we normally do on this show. He talks a lot about G5. He also talks a lot about FCS ball. He talks a lot about HBCU ball. Welcome to the show for the third time, CFB Moon. How you doing today, brother?
I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you for opening up your platform graciously to me. I'm excited to be on here. It's like the third, fourth time. I think I'm the only guest that you got.
Yeah, that's very true. You've been the only guest I've had on the show.
I'm dipping into your Jordan right now.
Hey, that's super dope, man.
It's gonna be a jam-packed one though.
It is. It's gonna be a super crazy episode as I make a few minor adjustments here. But I think that the dopest thing overall is, one, what you do for the brand and what everybody does for the brand, but more specifically what you do for the brand. The politics you got to deal with the schools. We was talking about a school in particular this morning. It's very frustrating, but I couldn't be happier for this season. I don't think you and I can be more prepared for this season. So it's going to be a journey. Let's get into the news, brother. Todd McShay crowns Texas Tech NIL power move. Todd McShay isn't shy about it. Texas Tech just might have bought itself a seat at the Big 12's big boy table thanks to a massive push from the Matador Club founder Cody Campbell. Joey McGuire's Red Raiders landed the number one transfer portal class in the country, highlighted by Stanford's David Bailey. Yes, they lose Taj Brooks, 1,500 yards, but McShay says new roster, one of the most expensive in college football, could have Texas pushing Arizona State for top dog status in the Big 12. And if that happens, the Big 12 title race has got very spicy. Moon, what is your take on this matter?
He's right. Like, Texas Tech, thank goodness that they got somebody that believes in their vision so much that they're willing to invest money. Like, we just saw that for another Big 12 team in Kansas with Mr. David that came in and blessed Kansas University with a $300 million plus check to say, hey, pour this into the stadium, pour this into the hotels, the complex that they're building outside of it. Like, let's just go crazy and pour money in. Texas Tech said, you know what? We got to evaluate talent. We got to be able to have a good eye for talent that we want to bring into our program. But at the same time, know that you need resources in order to bring this talent in. And then I think the thing that blows people away the most about Texas Tech is that when you hear the public perception of Texas Tech versus what it actually is, these recruits are coming out there and they're like making that decision to commit because of the luxuries that Texas Tech can afford. Like, their complexes are beautiful. They are ahead of the curve from most of the nation. When it comes to their complexes, they feel like they probably got the best football complexes in the nation in their eyes, but they've been putting the work in, and it all, you got to spend money to make money. But I think beyond just the money that they spent, I feel like they brought in pieces and evaluated them heavily and said, does this player fit who we are and what we want to do? Now, how that translates in the field and how that translates to wins is still left to be determined. But at the end of the day, I think when we look at the state of where we are in college football, this is inevitable. Like, it's inevitable. Like, these schools are just going to keep getting more resources. More donors are going to start coming out and saying, hey, I'm going to drop a bag on football too, because this is the lifeline. And they need to be a winner. They need to be a winner. Football is the driving force for their revenue, which is the same case for most of these schools out here. So if we can pour money into a program and, utilize the transfer portal heavy to fill in pieces and gaps for our team, I'm going to look at that as a win just as far as talent acquisition and roster construction. And then when I look at that roster, I'm like, look, I already know how I feel. I know how I feel about the quarterback that they have already. I know based on the interviews and stuff that we did at Big 12 Media Days, the people that we got a chance to rub shoulders with on Media Days, like my vision and the blueprint of what Texas Tech could be, they've been itching and dying for this for decades now. Like, the last good Texas Tech team was 2005, 2008, in that range. Like, we are on the dawn of a new age for Texas Tech. And I think that in this case, that money talk, but it's also able to get you different amenities and, luxuries that you wouldn't be able to afford before. And I think that for the other people that's looking at it, they're hating, but for them, it's like, it's no fun when a rabbit got the gun now.
That's a fact, bro. So I look at it the same way you looked at it, and we even seen like Virginia Tech AD come out and straight up say, hey, if we want the ACC to start giving us money, we need to start winning ball games. Well, that's a two-sided thing. If you want to start winning ball games, my apologies, then yes, you need to have those pieces in place. I never thought that Tyler Bowen was the right fit for their offensive coordinator. So they went and got a guy like Philip Montgomery, to be their offensive coordinator. But also you have to be willing to spend the money. The boosters, the donors have to find a way to be able to build these rosters so that they can compete. It is what it is. I thought they had the roster last year. For some strange reason, they just weren't able to compete. Now, looking more at Texas Tech, they did what they were supposed to do. If you can't, through high school, get those top-tier athletes you need on your team, then go find those athletes via the portal. It's really simple arithmetic. So they did what they're supposed to do. I agree 100% with what you said. I agree with Todd McShay said. Let's move on to our next story for this into the news segment. Marcel Reed wants Texas payback. Texas A&M quarterback Marcel Reed is circling November 28 in red ink. Now, Moon, before I get through the rest of the story, we know that quarterbacks supposed to have that next game mentality, right? Like we circling games already in red ink. The day that the Aggies head to Austin for the Lone Star Showdown. Last year, 17-17 loss still stings. Reed called this year's matchup a chance for a little bit of revenge. He's now quarterback one, of course, with Mike Elko. Fresh off of a pretty good season last year. I think they exceeded expectations. And then Johnny Manziel said he expects more from this team this upcoming year. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about where Texas A&M is at the moment? Are they, ahead of schedule, behind schedule, on schedule? What do you rate them at the moment?
I think they're on schedule. I think that, there's a lot of layers to break down with this. So I think that they're on schedule. I will say that confidently. I won't say that they're ahead of schedule because the only thing that's making me believe that they will be ahead of schedule is the development of Marcel Reed and him being a great passer within the pocket. We all know how explosive that he is, but the harsh reality is that because of his stature, because of his profile as a player, they have had to move the launch angles and to help cater this offense to be him. We bring in help with Casey Concepcion. We have upgraded in our offensive line. We have probably one of the best defensive lines in the nation, if not the all SEC. We have a lot of things working in our favor. So the only thing beyond Mike Elko, the only thing that is elevating Texas to be ahead of schedule is if I came out of fall camp saying, wow, Marcel Reed just took the next leap as a passer. So I feel like that. Part two, Johnny Manziel being with the program is amazing. Welcome this man back with open arms. Please. Because one of the harshest realities is I know Johnny wishes that he played in this era of college football.
Oh, man.
If he played in this era of college football, Johnny Manziel, best defensive line in the SEC for Texas A&M. Offensive line still needs some work. I think that when you look at the SEC offensive lines as a whole, there's a lot of them that you could say we have question marks on, from the top of the top in Texas to Georgia. Florida is probably one of the ones that I feel the most strongest about, just because of the guy that we love in the middle at center. But that's needed for continuity. But defensive line, Texas A&M, I think, is going to push everybody's money this year for having a top defensive line, one of the most elite ones in the nation. It's a factory. But Johnny Manziel coming back to the school is amazing, bro. Amazing. They need to keep him close. He needs to be around people that can not only see him for who he truly is, but allow him to take growth in the program. I don't know if he's going to get into coaching. I don't know if this is going to get into the business side of college football. I don't know what Johnny's plans are, but it starts with him being connected to this university, and it starts with him being around the team. And what was the last part of the question?
How do you feel about him, the Lone Star Showdown, right? How do you feel about him, wanting revenge and talking about that game this early in the season?
You have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, I agree.
You can't get to Notre Dame first.
Right. There's so many more games that need to be played before that. It's okay if another positional player says that. I just think at the quarterback position, let's focus on this next game.
Bulletin board material
for
for Texas, for sure.
Sark is going to use this 100%.
Yeah, I don't think it's premature, but I get what he's saying. Like I do understand what he's saying as far as the revenge, because it's not a good way to go out like that. Like went outside, in my opinion,
And
and
they had an
I
opportunity to make the playoff.
100%.
I'm sorry,
But I feel the
to make the
same way.
conference championship, which if they won, they could have made the playoff.
Would have made the playoff if they won.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's in the same boat to me as like Diego and Ryan going back and forth about their matchup with each other this year. Like the results of 2024 say and speak all, you know. We can wish and hope on the star for what's going to be in 2025, but you got bigger fish to fry starting off in the year. We're not getting to Texas until later.
Right. Like you said, much bigger fish to fry. Greg Sankey heckled at Wrigley. I love this sport, bro. I really like the fans get it. They understand it. They understand it 100%. SEC commissioner just wanted to watch some baseball. Instead, a Big Ten fan at Wrigley Field spotted Greg Sankey behind home plate and immediately started yelling, "You need to play 10 conference games." Oh, I love this sport, bro. And we saw Kirk Cincinnati, a guy that we've both been able to have the pleasure to be around. And, you know, he said, hey, I'm going to start scheduling like the SEC. They got a tough gauntlet, too, 9 conference games. Them 3 conference, non-con games better be layups, right? If that's what we're doing in the SEC as well. So how do you feel about this Cold War? I feel like this is something you and I knew. Like, hey, they supposed to be leading the new wave of college football and unity, right. But now they are like USSR in the United States, and they have engaged in a Cold War. Coaches have exchanged jabs. You know what I'm saying? Players have exchanged jabs. Brett Bielema said something so profound when, he was asked to talk about, Vandy's quarterback, Diego Pavia. And if you haven't seen SEC football any given Saturday, that Vanderbilt episode was really special. And
amazing episode.
Dude, Diego Pavia, he's outstanding. But anyway, he had made some comments about how tough the SEC gauntlet was and took a shot at the Big Ten. And then, Coach Brett Bielema said he's not saying anything he isn't hearing. Like, this is stuff that he is hearing. So let's speak about the Cold War. Where Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey at? We all know that Tony Petitti came in number 1 in my commissioner rankings.
Yeah, you did rank him number 1.
Yeah, I did rank him number 1 because he's like a mob boss, bro. He moved to the beat of his own drum. And really the Cold War started because they have a difference in opinion of how the next format, for the college football playoff should be. So this is where the Cold War has started, and then players are exchanging jabs, coaches are exchanging jabs, and now it's about to be a full-fledged war. So talk about that, and then talk about the incident that happened at Wrigley Field.
So the Wrigley Field incident, those people up there know ball.
They do. They do.
They pay attention. They tapped in. They know ball. Like, and anytime you see an enemy come into, op come into your territory, you have to heckle him. It was only right. Like that. That is 100% what you should expect if you go into that. If you think that you're gonna go into Big Ten territory, the cream of that Big Ten territory, like you're not making out of it unscathed.
Right.
You had to know that. I can't fault the fans for doing that, but they know ball, and you're not about to be sitting here talking to them crazy and be able to just come into our building and act like everything is sweet. Oh, clap it up for Greg Sankey. Welcome in. Like, no, you about to get the F-bombs. You about to get the jabs, verbal jabs. They're going to be hitting you with Floyd Mayweather, rip and dip. Like, they're going to be doing whatever they can to try to knock you off your game, even if it's getting in your head. And I think that the nation can speak louder than what you can see, and oftentimes being in boardrooms, conference rooms, on phone calls with all these different execs and all this different stuff. This is the pulse of the nation. This is what they're saying about you. Now, if you go to SEC territory, he's going to get all their love.
Right.
He's going to get all the love. It's complete reversal, but that's what you see when you go in this war. But then when you talk about how it started and where we are now, but like, hey, Big Ten, let's join forces and like we can run the whole show.
Right.
We can run the whole show. And they're like, all right, that's cool. But like, how are we going about doing that? And then when we start getting to particulars, the details of it, the fine print, I don't think that they were aligned. And now the way that players are coming out, the way that coaches are coming out, the way that we see the rhetoric starting to shift and change around SEC versus Big Ten, is best believe it's a war. But the Big Ten can literally poke their chest out and say, "Hey, we beat y'all head to head last year. This is a fact. Like, we won more than you." So regardless of what you think that you are, we know that if it came down to it, can we talk about Michigan versus Alabama? Can we talk about Illinois versus South Carolina?
Yeah.
Can we talk about
bring up a good argument?
So that's where they stand. For us, you know, we sit in a drone shot view, can see all of the pictures and all the soldiers marching and about to collide. It was like, whoa,
Yeah.
like I didn't anticipate this. But I will say spiciness is good for the sport, because in this war, it might not be fought on the actual battlefield, but as far as for the soul of the sport, I think that's the deeper underlying thing. And I feel like this season it's only leading to the season having even more controversy, because we get Big Ten SEC games all year long.
Right.
Yeah.
So no, I like that a lot, and I think it was interesting to see the way that Greg Sankey handled being heckled versus James Franklin, how he handled being heckled, and this was in his own home.
Completely different.
Right. He got called a fraud, and he was ready to fight, because essentially he scheduled 10 SEC conference games, is saying, hey, you guys' non-con schedule is fraud. You're fraudulent, right? And for Sankey to look at him, understand where he was, laughed it off, versus how James Franklin handled it. I think that's exciting. Something we've talked about a lot on this.
Pressure burst diamonds, makes diamonds or burst pipes.
It really does, and we gonna figure out where they at. We talked about a lot about this Ohio State quarterback room, and I have been on record for saying this is closer than people think. I have been told, no, you're making this stuff up. Like Julian saying is winning the job. I've been getting told this by Jalen for like 5 months now, maybe 5.5. I got told this by him yesterday. I'm like, okay, so why hasn't he named the starting quarterback? Like we're starting to get into that scary territory where, hey bro, pick a starter. If it's Julian saying, say it's Julian saying, let him take all the first team reps. My concern is it ain't like you got Circuit City University that you're playing week 1. You're playing Texas. So whomever is the starting quarterback, they need to get all of these first team reps now. So I'm guessing what they're trying to do is smoke screen it and kind of do it like they did in 2023, where nobody was going to be the starting quarterback from a preparation perspective. But last time I checked, their skill sets are almost the same. So what is the purpose? Like now we're taking away quality reps because we're still trying to figure out this quarterback battle. And this is something that Ryan Day, if history shows, hasn't dealt with in a proper way. What is your thoughts on Columbus right now, and does this scare you?
The quarterback competition scares me. The state of the roster and where we are post 2024 scares me, because it reminds me of Georgia. Like this team, if they get all the way to the deepest parts of the college football playoff, I would say that is amazing, but your roster was not nearly as talented as what you had last year or the year before.
Right.
Like you still have the 2 best players in all of college football, Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. That gives me comfort. That makes me be able to sleep at night. When I started looking at what we did in the transfer portal, plugging and playing pieces in the offensive line, that gives me a little bit more security, but still is unsure. When I look at the wide receivers core and Tate and Smith and just the weapons that they have, like it's not, the running back room is not what we had last year for sure. But for where we are, Ohio State people might be like, look, I probably feel a little bit more excited because of the unknown, and we look at the defense, Sonny, and just we got players all over the place. It's not that they're not talented. It's just that because of this quarterback situation is making things murky, because that it's the most important position on the entire field, on the entire roster. I 100% agree with you. 100%. There should be one guy getting the starting reps. We should have been closer to this whole progression playing out after we got out of the spring, like entering into fall camp. We've been hearing that this has been extremely close. And that part is scary because you've been saying it all along about this Ohio State situation reminding you so much of 2023 and what we led to. And that part right there makes me hesitant. Ryan Day is where he is as a coach outside of the whole Michigan situation. We're not going to talk about right now.
Wait goes big.
Pretty solid, bro. You're a national champion. I trust in that now. You know what I'm saying? Before, I wasn't. But like I told last year, you're in a fan base that demands winning and the expectation is winning. But I think that they also are ball knowers and know that, okay, this roster construction is a little bit different than what we had in years past. So we're going to have to like adjust our expectations for what we are. But I feel like if you're an Ohio State fan, you have to be have a little bit of trepidation for this situation with the quarterback room, because not because the guys aren't talented, but because there's only so much time that we have before the season starts, and there's only so many reps to go around. So in my gut is saying that Ryan Day actually really don't know who the starter going to be. That's just my gut saying. The smoke screen element of it is like, hey, stall out for as long as you can.
Stall them out, man.
But stall them out, man. What do you think about it? Because I feel like you've been right about this entire time.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's closer than everybody thought. Now, I've always said from the very beginning of it that Lincoln Kienholz will have to do more to win this job than what Julian Sayin will have to do. So I've been consistent in saying that. But here's my concern: you have a new offensive coordinator in Hartline. He's been with the program for a very long time, but he is now the offensive coordinator. Guess what else you have a new of? And it doesn't really have anything to deal with.
That part scares me the most.
It's Matt Patricia and the adjustment he has to make to the collegiate game. I don't think people understand how wide the hashes are at the collegiate level. So if you're, bundled up on the right hash and there's, a bunch to the left or trips to the left, there's more space. There's a lot more space. So if you throw a bubble route, the person catching the bubble route has a lot more space. It's just those little nuances that I get a little worried about. Will he make the adjustment? Absolutely. He coached at the highest level. You know what I'm saying? And he had a lot of success as a defensive coordinator turned offensive coordinator. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I love when people give him his accolades and say he's a Super Bowl champion. He is.
Right.
But you're in college football now.
It's a
and
different
this is a different game and a different sport. So, like, that part, if you ask me what scares me more, the quarterback competition for Ohio State or the defensive coordinator situation, defensive coordinator by a mile.
I agree.
By a mile. You do not have the safety blanket of having Mr. Nose as your guy no more.
Who they just let him go join Penn State. Just let him in the most disrespectful way. Yeah, in the most disrespectful way possible, bro. If you don't think he's out for blood, he's out for blood, bro. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
100%. Kirby Smart. Let's talk about Georgia a little bit. Kirby Smart on the running back room. I said this yesterday. I love the 1-2 punch that they have with Nate Frazier, and then they got Josh McCray from Champaign. How you feeling about that running back room?
Loaded. Loaded. Georgia, bro, you're loaded this year, man. Like, y'all probably got loaded this year, man. Like, y'all probably got. Y'all don't have to worry about your coaching staff. Coaching staff one of the best in the nation, like up there. They've proved it. Last year was a masterpiece. Georgia had no business being that far in the college football playoff. They did not have no business being that far, and yet somehow Kirby and the rest of the coaching staff allowed their best work to come out on the field in 2024. Now you get an experienced roster that is still young, like.
That's running back room that you guys had in a very long time.
In a while. People been murmuring AJ Green and all this other stuff.
Right.
Not because of one core talent, but just the culmination of talent.
Yeah, it's the group of talent.
Yeah, man. They got different sizes that float whatever boat you need. Whether you like tall guys, shifty,
right.
Whatever you need.
Amazing depth at wide receiver for UGA.
Then their tight end room is just even more loaded. So I can make a little pass for Georgia trying to figure out that offensive line right now when I look at their skill positions as a whole. And then there's people that don't believe in Gunner. Okay, whatever. We can have that conversation for another day.
I mean, Stetson
However,
Bennett, people didn't believe in him either. So
there's a guy that people was getting more love than Gunner Stockton, and yet Gunner Stockton played in the college football playoff last year.
Right. He got the experience.
And people still act like there's still unknowns with him when he's playing cream of the top talent, cream of the crop talent, regardless of how banged up they were at that point in the season. This is still first team reps, but yet I'm supposed to take Arch Manning at a higher clip when I only have ETSU or these lower rated schools. Like, we have to make it make sense at some point. So when I look at the roster construction of Georgia and where we are, loaded. Their running back room, I think the identity of Georgia is running the football. Nate Frazier, a jam-packed season. And it's not just the top two. They have depth that makes you uncomfortable because you don't know what type of personnel that they're going to get. Now, how does that transpire in a season? You know Kirby wants to keep things vanilla, bro. He wants to keep things vanilla as possible. If you want to add a sprinkle here, add a sprinkle. You want to add a little chocolate syrup here, add a syrup. But the core of what we're doing is vanilla because that wins games. I'm going to rely on my defense. I want to run the rock. I think the offensive coordinator situation is going to play out in a great way because it's just a combination of talent, the understanding of where we are, and the expectation wasn't met in 2024, and we still got close to the mountaintop. So I think they playing with house money in 2025, and I really do feel like Georgia is probably one of the scariest teams in the nation, just from a personnel perspective, because I know a lot of teams can spread you out wide and dice you up in all the different packages and personnel, but they have versatility, and at this point, I gotta reward versatility. When you just look at overall roster construction, they are loaded, like loaded, and their running back room, I think, is going to be really good, especially compared to what we saw last year in the consistency and the stretches. A lot of it had to do with the offensive line, even though they had a culmination of great success last year. Individually, collectively, I feel like they didn't reach their highest ceiling. But now we got some new guys in there, and I know that they want to get back to their, smash mouth, physical, run you out while we barking at you. Like, they want to be on that type of time.
And that's, when we look at the college football playoff in retrospect, what won was physicality. It's the reason why Notre Dame, some of the physical runs that Jeremiah Love had, albeit while injured, or the physicality from, Ohio State, being able to make that play against, Texas when Sawyer was able to pick it up, or the dual running back room that they had last year with Kenshawn Duckins and Travion Henderson. Physicality is what's going to win once you get to that playoff stretch. Last thing, Rich Rod. It was a pleasure seeing Rich Rod at Big 12 Media Days. It really was. The only time that I went to the breakout room ever, on my way over there, I stopped. I talked to Andy Staples for a little while, and we was talking about fashion, bro. We went from college football to fashion, back to college football, right? And then I went over there to see what Rich Rod was talking about. And that dude is just like, I don't think a lot of people know that you and I study playbooks. I don't think they know that's one of our hobbies, and that we actually have a copy of Rich Rod playbook from back in 2005 and how detailed his installs are. So I've always been, and that's why we're fans of Lincoln Riley, because some people may not like, how he develops quarterbacks, or may not like, what they've seen on the field from his teams. But from an X's and O's perspective, if you don't think he a genius, you don't know ball. And I'm 100% comfortable in saying that, because he's another one with a great playbook that we also have access to. How we get access to him, we're not telling you guys.
Not letting you know that.
Yeah, we have a myriad of playbooks. We have Steve Sarkisian playbook from 2020. So like, it's something that we've always studied. But Rich Rod, he had the most detail. Him, and then we have a Bruce Arians playbook as well. But that's at the NFL level, so that's what's expected. But other than Bruce Arians, Rich Rod had the most detailed playbook I have ever seen. And think about this. The run game was the focus, and he had the most detailed playbook that we have seen. So what were some of your thoughts of Rich Rod, and how do you feel like he can change Morgantown around?
Special. Rich Rod brings in an element of belief that WVU fan base, culture, boosters, donors, anybody that is a fan of WVU. In fact, the entire state of West Virginia, giving y'all a different culture and bravado that's stepping into the door where y'all expect to win now. Like, y'all might have not won in years past, but y'all expect to win. And it's the language from everybody, from the mascot to the players to the coaches to the personnel people. Everybody's on one accord. And then when I look at it from a micro level, I'm like, man, the state believes now. And when I look at Rich Rod and what he's coming into this situation, a lot of people kind of don't know where to put West Virginia. But based on where we are in just the quarterback situation alone, I feel like Nico Marichal is the odds-on favorite to win. Like, in my opinion, he's gonna win the starting quarterback position. Now, from that point, it's just like, okay, how do you evaluate the rest of these guys, and where do we stand? Where do we stand with that? Now, Nico has like a very, very small sample size, 434 yards, I think 2 touchdowns. So there's only so much, but based on what we've been hearing for fall, I'm like, he's a dual threat guy that can get the job done, especially knowing that what we know about what Rich Rod wants to do and his scheme and philosophy. It helps to have a dual threat element, but they also got Jalen Henderson that's still there. So you still have Henderson, that. I like Henderson too. And you add in that wrinkle for what he brings into the table. Their quarterback situation last year was kind of frustrating for me.
I expected them to be better last year. I expected them to be a lot better last year.
I bet on West Virginia way more than I probably will in 2025, just from a numbers and odds perspective.
Right.
But from where we sit, I have more faith in where we are with the uncertain quarterback situation because Rich Rod is here than I did with where we were last year.
For sure.
Just the uncertainty.
And this isn't his roster. That's something that we've always understanding of. You know, year one is not your roster. You're going to hit the portal, kind of like what we saw Zach Kelly. Happy birthday, Zach Kelly. His birthday was yesterday. Shout out to Zach Kelly, stand-up dude. So you expect to see like year 2, year 3 as he bring in his players and fit his scheme. And the greatest evolution of his playbook has been the installing of the RPO because we saw that a lot at Jacksonville State last year. And
they're going to do – I think they're going to do some RPO heavy this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if they air that junk out more than what we're used to or what we see in year one, even though he doesn't have his full cream of crop of talent.
That might be the reason why they air it out more because he doesn't have his full crop of talent. So that's our into the news segment. I'm super excited for this next segment. Let's get right into it, brother. All righty, we have the official tissue CFB Nation top 25. Moon, you want to do the honors and name the teams?
So, in our top 25 list is a lot of people that helped us get to this point. I want to shout them out real quick. Shout out to the governor. Shout out to Miguel Romero, Brian Barsars, D Now, Dennis Noel, Nino Caroselli, Boomer, Jared Gray, Christopher Connor, Jalen Wilson, John Lobb, Chris Connor, Mike Anthony, me, Deshaun Minor, better known as Moon, and everybody else that helped us with this poll. Because it's not just us, by the way. Not just us. Top 25 poll. Let's start from 25 to 1. We got Texas A&M at 25. 24 is Boise State. Louisville holds 23 spot. Baylor is repping 22. 21 is Louisville and the Cardinals. 20, Michigan Wolverines. 19, we also got Indiana and the Hoosiers. SMU is 18. Oklahoma is 17. Then 16 belongs to Texas Tech. Moving up, we have the Kansas State Wildcats at number 15. Illinois, Final Line 9, 14. Florida Gators, 13. Arizona State Sun Devils at 12. And 11 belongs to the South Carolina Gamecocks. 10, Miami. 9, LSU. 8, Oregon. 7, Notre Dame. 6, Alabama. Top 5. UGA is holding down the top 5 spot. Texas is coming in at 4. Ohio State is at number 3. Penn State Nittany Lions is at number 2. And number 1 in our official top 25 for CFB Nation poll, year 1, is the Clemson Tigers in our poll. That is the breakdown, and that is the top 25 of where we see right now. Let us know your thoughts in the chat. We would love to know. Social media has been going to blaze. They're gonna already know our thoughts. So yeah, y'all let us know too, please. And we haven't really got a chance to talk about this yet. So I'm excited to know what you think.
we haven't got a chance to talk about it. And then other teams receiving votes. Auburn received 29 points, Tennessee 27, Ole Miss 22, Navy 21. Washington is a really good team, 14, TCU 12, USC. I know you wanted USC in your top 25 at 11.
Badly.
Vandy 10, Mizzou 6, Duke. You know I'm a huge fan of Duke at 6, Florida State at 3. Syracuse at 3, Nebraska 3, Utah 2. I know you wanted them in your top 25, and BYU at 2. My overall thoughts is I couldn't be prouder of this poll and the way that we constructed it, because a lot of times it's figuring out the formula, right? And that this is a ranking and not a ranked rating. Ratings are metric and merit based. Rankings are based on your eye test, especially, and as it pertains to what have you done for me lately. I love the fact that Boise State is there at 24, Texas A&M at 25. You know what I love most? And Knoxville is about to kill me as I say this. They're not in the top 25. They're not in the top 25. Because college football is a what have you done for me lately, not what have you done for me last year. And I'm going to name some of the reasons why Tennessee shouldn't be a top 25 team.
And I'll be devil's advocate.
Yeah, you can, for sure. So the handling of Nico Iamaleava situation, if you knew after the college football playoff that you might have an issue where there was an alleged holdout for the playoff, get rid of him, then that way you can find you a quarterback in the early window, right? And then you can have spring to help prepare that quarterback. That way they're more prepared than they were at fall camp. Also, you had the Boo Carter situation. Why wasn't he at practice, right? Then you have Blurgate. Why? How does it even get past quality assurance, bro? That you have a tight end throwing a pass, bro, and you going to blur him out, bro. And shout out to J.D. Pickell because he was the one that solved the case, right? So I look at these things, and I look at the team. They have lost some production on the defensive side of the ball, but I do think Arion Carter's going to have a breakout season this year. I think Jermon McCoy is the best cornerback in all of college football. That's truly how I feel about that. But from an offensive perspective, one, that didn't look like some type of weird pass where the tight end was throwing the ball. It looked like you guys were legitimately seeing if this tight end could play quarterback, right? So is it Joey McGuire, right? Is it Jake Merkinger? Is it George McIntyre? Who's going to be your quarterback, right? And at running back, I think Peyton Lewis can be really good at running back. And then we have probably an imposed suspension for the top wide receiver. I just look at what have you done for me lately as the metric from when I'm ranking teams. And I say, hey, there is some talent here, and I do believe in the system. And what Josh Heupel has been able to do has been spectacular during his time in Knoxville. But I also say, hey, if they played this team 10 times on a neutral site, can they beat this team 5 or 6 times? That's where I started to say, hey, I'm not sure it's a top 25 team. Go ahead and play devil's advocate, and then I'll have my rebuttal.
You make great cases, and it's all things that I have no rebuttal to. Like, for real. Like, I don't explain the whole Nico situation. Like, especially what we've seen in his growth and trajectory since he touched down in UCLA, Los Angeles.
Bro, he's looking good out there, bro.
He's looking, man's glowing. Like, every interview I see this man, he look like a new guy. So I'm interested to see how this whole thing shakes out. But my devil's advocate is just 2 things. And I think, well, it's really one thing. Trenches. I think Tennessee could probably have a chance just because of trenches.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We're going to offensive line play with Sanders. I'm super excited for that, what we're going to see in 2025. And then for your defensive line, I think that your defensive line is still pretty good. Right. So I look at that and I say, if anything, you're going to be competitive in any area, it's probably going to be your trenches. But the things that scare me the most is they might not look at it as a lack of depth, but you're playing the SEC. So, I mean, you're going to need to have depth in the wide receiver room. And to me, that's the issue. That's the issue. We're still trying to find it. And I feel like we got to cross our fingers dot I's and cross our T's.
And it may be an imposed suspension with their best wide receiver. One thing I will say, because I do try to show love when I am critical of a team. I already told you guys about Arion Carter. Watch out for him. Breakout season. Jermon McCoy is real deal. But Tim Banks, we are always talking about those younger coaches and how crazy this upcoming coaches carousel is going to be. Like, of course, Dylan Sampson in the running game last year was pivotal, but Tim Banks hasn't got enough credit for how great of a defensive coordinator he is. Because we saw games like the Oklahoma game where both offenses struggled, but Tim Banks has been a staple there as their defensive coordinator. So I do like what they have for the defense side of the ball. I just think the Nico situation was mismanaged, and I'm sure it was the final straw for Josh Heupel. Like, yo, no man is bigger than the team. Cool, make that decision in January. That way you can find you a quarterback, and you're not poaching, because it's poaching and it's tampering. And he's lucky we don't have a commission to hold people accountable, because Avery Johnson was not in the portal. Josh Hoover was not in the portal, but you're reaching out and talking to these quarterbacks. There needs to be penalties for that, 100%. So USC isn't in. Why should they be in?
Why should they be in?
Yeah.
You should see. Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. First off, I ranked USC like number 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
I had them in my top 15 because I looked at it and I said, from a roster construction standpoint of where we are with USC, how do you stop it? I went back and I said, let me go watch that USC versus LSU game. Just at the beginning of the year. Let me go watch back some couple of games and try to really see where we actually lost at. Bro, I'm over here watching the Kobe Lane cook LSU defenders. Oh, he coming back. I'm watching Makai Lemon. Their wide receiver core is filthy. Then I look at their DB room. It's a mixture of veterans, talent. You got freshmen coming in that's going to come in and really make that rotation stronger. They competing out there. I love USC's defensive line. What the freshmen coming in, that's probably going to push for high rotations, 5-star dude. Then the guys is coming back. USC dealt with so many injuries last year. They get my guy Eric Gentry back. Like, he's coming out there trying to take that next step, and this is his last hurrah. I'm banking on the return of veteran leadership. I'm looking at their roster construction, and I love where they are in that offensive line, even though they are nervous about where they are. I feel like their offensive line is going to be better than what it was last year. Then I look at the skill positions as we are, special teams. I mean, they're going to have to make some adjustments for sure. But when I look at roster constructions, and then we talk about this head-to-head, I think USC can beat Texas A&M head-to-head. I think they can beat Boise head-to-head. I think they can beat LSU. No, I mean, not LSU. Baylor, Louisville. I think they beat Michigan head-to-head. I think they beat Indiana head-to-head. They wiped the floor at SMU. They will be a close one in Oklahoma. Texas Tech, they got you. They will whoop you. Kansas State, you might as well go ahead, pass up. Illinois, I'm sorry, but that game when the USC comes to Illinois, book it. USC gonna get that dub, Illinois. You can book it. Florida,
no chance, brother. No chance, brother. Do they beat Florida? But here's the thing I think a lot of people missed with USC last year. They had 5 one-score losses, and they try to blame it all on Miller Moss, that team that's ranked at number 23. Look out for them this year. I am high. High on Louisville. But let me tell you why I love our overall top 25. When you look at what Dabo Swinney is doing in Clemson, he hasn't gotten enough credit. I know people say, hey, man, he don't use the portal. He doesn't use the portal. But guess what he does do? He graduates player. Guess what he also does? He graduates players with high GPA. Guess what he also does? When you go to Clemson, you see a bunch of former players there. It's truly a family. They are number one in returning production. What they're going to do on the defensive side of the ball is going to be outstanding. Cade Klubnik. So when we look at pure roster talent, when we look at the gauntlet that they're going to go through, having one of the easiest gauntlets other than their trip to Louisville, Kentucky, Lord have mercy, that's going to probably be game of the week that those two teams play. But when we look at them and I say, hey, the coaches and the staff, check. We love the new defensive coordinator. We love Gary Riley. The players, check. They should be the number one team because we don't feel the same about Penn State. Mad Dog from ESPN First, I know you don't watch that. Did you hear what he had to say about Penn State?
No, I didn't. What did he say?
So he said that why is Penn State the number 2 team in the country? He said Drew Aller is in clutch. Lie. That's a lie. From the pits of hell, that's a lie. Then he said it's more about what their coach can do than about the roster construction or about the roster talent. Was his word? So he was going
all
off.
About
you
the
know
roster
he's wrong.
talent, bro.
Right. This is preseason rankings. It's 100% about the roster talent.
This is not coach speak, bro.
And he omitted the fact that they had Andy Kolodnicki and Jim Knowles as a coordinator parent.
Yeah.
So he said they didn't deserve to be two. And that's when I started saying, okay, I see what you guys do at ESPN. You got Mad Dog there for clicks because he's going to get clicks. He's hilarious, especially when he's talking about like his wheelhouse, which is like baseball and basketball. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
So what they do is to add that legitimacy, they'll go get somebody like a Paul Feinbaum. And what I said on the show yesterday is go get J.D. Pickell to come on the show. You said that the J.D. Pickell on the show, he would have pushed back. Go get Josh Pate to be on the show. You said that to Josh Pate, there would have been some pushback. Now, I'm not saying that to say anything about Paul Feinbaum, but he is, of course, his bosses are ESPN, so he has to play nice. And I would have loved for him to say that to Joel Klatt. But because of contractual obligations and because Fox and ESPN kind of have a Cold War as it pertains to college football and a myriad of other things, ABC, Fox, we the family of networks, Joe Klatt would have been on that show and heard that verbiage or that vernacular. Mad Dog would have been super Mad Dog, and he might have got tossed. You know what I'm saying? So that's exactly what would have happened. Oregon. Some people are uneasy about Oregon. Some of the feedback we're getting, I don't get it. Because all Dan Lanning has done is win. When he's 35-6, first year in the Big Ten, no problem. We wiped the floor. We wiped the floor with the Big Ten, right? Other than Ohio State in the playoffs. But LSU seems to be a lot of people's fan favorite. We have them right at 9. How you feel about LSU?
LSU, I actually had in my top 5. Well, no, I think they were
I like it.
6,
6,
5 or 6. One of them. Because I had Alabama. If my rankings for this season, as far as who's going to be competitive at SEC, my top 3 was actually Georgia, then Alabama, then LSU. I have more faith in LSU than I have in Texas. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because, one, they're returning an absolute dog as a returning starter at quarterback. Mm-hmm. Let's just start there. Mm-hmm. Let's just start there. Out of the top 10 teams that are all returning, how many of them are returning starting quarterbacks in 2025 year of our Lord? Clemson at number 1, Penn State at number 2, right. LSU at number 9 in our rankings. Everybody else either has a quarterback situation
or a transfer. Yeah, you're right. That's 100%. That's an outstanding take. I like that.
They have the consistency of the quarterback, so I pushed LSU up and pole vaulted. Oregon and Notre Dame, Bama. They pole vaulted Oregon, Notre Dame. I think Miami too in my poll, but for the CFB Nation poll, I don't have no problem with them being in the top 10 at all. I would push for them to be as high as if you flip Texas and LSU, I would have no problem because you look at their roster and their stack. We talked about this off air. Their linebacker core might be one of the best in the nation, if not the best.
Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins. Come on, bro. You add in DJ coming in on the outside, freshman 5-star. You talk about their cornerback room is loaded, like just loaded, stacked, bro.
They have questions on their offensive line, 100%. I'll hand you that. Shake my hand. I get it, but mostly all the SEC schools have questions on their offensive line. If you're not named Florida,
Bama and Florida, yeah.
Bama and Florida with Proctor and Slaughter. So like, hey, I get it. Like, but my thing is talent construction. Their wide receivers can get out and get active on anybody. Nick Anderson, Aaron Anderson, Barian Brown. Like, they have a mix of flavor, speed, and I think that they're leaning into their identity and saying, hey, well, Moon, they don't got no running back. Have you seen Harlem? Have you seen Harlem? Harlem's coming in a situation. Clemson versus LSU week 1 is going to probably be a battle of 2 freshmen starting running backs. It could possibly be. And I'm not even talking about Durham and everything, but I'm talking about Harlem.
Durham is real deal.
Harlem is giving you hope for the future, LSU friends. He's going to come in, I feel like, going to push for reps early in the season, and it's going to continue. Like, and then when I look at all these things, I said all of that without mentioning the fact that they just brought in Patrick Payton from
Right.
Florida State.
Which
Their
who
defense-
underwhelmed last year, but that was a heck of a get out of Tyler.
That was a situation. That was a situation
That's
that
who
you
else
had
they
to
got from there?
adjust to.
From Florida State, and I think everybody missed it, but it probably was a key reason why Patrick Payton came there. Alex Atkins is on that staff. So when you really start to look at these things, you really start to figure them out. I tell you what, I'm doing my
Blake
bracket next
Baker.
week. Oh
I
yes,
think Blake Baker's their decent DC. Blake Baker is one of the more cooler defensive coordinators to watch. Like, I know LSU has their moments and everything, but like I respect him. Like, I respect him in his mind as a DC. And all of this is without saying in the word BK. It's not Burger King.
So when I looked at this list, and of course we got to do our brackets next week because the season starts next week. Josh Pate said it. Next week is week 0 protocol. We actually get to predict games next week. I'm super excited for that. But I have my bracket to do. And, of course, in my preseason bracket, I did have Georgia in the playoff. I had Texas winning the conference. Then I think I had Florida as the runner-up in the conference. That's going to look differently, I think. While I'm still super high on Florida, I think I'm a little bit down on Texas, but I think they'll be really good. But Alabama, bro. The more I look at Bama, the more I love them. I really do. Ty Simpson has been killing it. You talked about the line, who they got it, like Caden Proctor and Parker Brailsford, who's very underrated, interior offensive lineman. And then the wide receiver core, bro. Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams. And then they got a really good get in Isaiah Horton from Miami. And then you got Jan Miller at running back. And then you got a stout defense. Because we already know what Kane Womack is going to bring to the table, with that defense as their D coordinator. So I'm starting to be higher and higher on Bama. What some people are probably becoming lower on Bama, I'm higher. And we look at the SEC.
The lowness doesn't make sense, though.
It doesn't. I look at the SEC, and I could very well say, hey, I know there's a lot of cool, really neat teams to look at, but this can be Georgia and Bama's conference, right? It 100% could. Like, we're talking about LSU, who's great. Florida is great. There's a lot of great teams in this conference. South Carolina is going to be really good this year. But couldn't it be the same old, same old?
Could.
It 100%
Very much so.
could. Yeah. So
South Carolina's schedule is ridiculous. Florida's schedule is ridiculous. But, I mean, that's what you're going to get when you're in the SEC. They didn't get no favors.
Nah.
Talk about the league office making the schedules out. They had some type of money on it.
They'll do no favors. And then you got an upstart like Oklahoma that can come out of nowhere.
Yeah, the SEC is going to be fun to watch this year.
Yeah, it's going to be loaded. So I'm cool with the bracket. We got one last story to cover before we get out of here. We've got the news on the sanctions for Michigan, and I'm going to read them aloud now. This is from Ross Dellinger of Yahoo, and on 4 years of probation, $50,000 fine plus 10% of football team's budget, fine equivalent to the loss of 2 postseason college football playoff or bowl, fine equivalent to the 10% of all football scholarships, 25% reduction in football official visits, 14-week probation on recruiting communications. That's what happened. And
massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah, it has been. I know Michigan fans are probably going to be relieved with it, but think about how small Cheeseburger Gate was, right? You can't even have, you're on a 14-week probation. If you do something as little as buy a kid a cheeseburger, you are in trouble, bro. As little as buying a kid a cheeseburger, you are 100% in trouble. So let's talk about Michigan for a moment. How do you feel this will affect the program? We've seen that this program has struggled to get top tier talent on the outside. Of course, they're going to win it on in the trenches and on the defensive side of the ball. How does this hurt them? We know about the impending self-imposed sanctions because teams like to come to the mercy of the court. Hey, we've already punished ourselves. Like don't try to punish us too much. We saw Tennessee do this with the Jeremy Pruitt situation as well. So How do you feel about this? All inclusive now that we know the penalty. We knew that it will be announced today. How you feeling about it?
This is a hammer, man. And this is overwhelming evidence. It's not just them, just making some stories up. Like, this is overwhelming evidence. And they are citing the fact that, Throughout the investigation, Connor Stalions, Jim Harbaugh, Sherrone Moore, former director of player personnel, Denard Robinson, each failed to meet the membership's expectations of cooperation.
They got shoelaces?
They got shoelaces too, bro. Their conduct ranged from destroying relevant materials to providing false and misleading information during interviews, including Stalions instructing an intern to clear out emails, photos, text, videos related to the recruiting and the scouting scheme. They said that they spent close to $30,000 in tickets for 2022 alone. Like 35,000 on tickets in 2022 alone throughout the scheme. And by his own admission, Connor Stalions expended significant resources in effort to plan the scheme. Like throughout the scheme, Stalions collected, deciphered, and documented thousands of signals for use by other staff members. Bro. And the majority of the violations for this case is related to the orchestration of an impermissible scouting scheme during the 2021, 2022, 2023. It's not a slap on the wrist, bro. They go on probation, so they can't do anything, right?
Nah, no infractions. You have any infractions during this 14-week probationary period, I ain't saying we're going to see SMU death penalty, but we are certainly going to see something.
The slap on the wrist in this situation was Sherrone Moore saying, "Oh, I'll do game 2.
right. I'm going to pick my games.
I'll do that.
Yeah, I want to go back to Norman. I want to take my family to my favorite eatery.
Going back to my alma mater. I got to go back to my alma mater, bro. You can't miss that for the world."
Yeah, my man said the heck with CMU and the heck with Nebraska, and we got Matt Rule, right?
Yeah. I mean, for where we are with Michigan as a team, I'm hoping for Michigan. Like,
I'm glad we didn't rank them too high. I don't think they should have been in a team.
I think I had Michigan higher in my rankings in the CFB Nation poll because the poll had them at like 19, I think 19 or 20.
20, yeah.
And I had them closer to like that 14 range, 13 through 15 range. I was swapping them out because I believe in that their defense. They have showed time and time again, over and over again, that they can produce NFL type of talent. Like it just seems to be like a factory up there, and I can bet that Justice Haynes is going to be vital for them. I like their running back room for where they are. I feel like just like Alabama loves where they are with Jim, I feel like Michigan loves where they are with Justice and the rest of this running back room. Like the quarterback is a blessing, regardless of if you go with Keen or if you go with Underwood right now, because it's better than where we were last year. So I have high hopes for Michigan. Now, I think it's proving it on the football field, but the last memory that I have of a Michigan Wolverine is them talking crazy to Alabama and then handling business. So that's my last memory of them.
Right.
So based on just that alone, I feel like, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, $20 million for a school like Sam Houston.
What matter? 100%. It might fold. It might fold their program.
Their program might not be able to make it. $20 million for Michigan. I understand why people saying, "Oh, it's a slap on the wrist and that."
They'll get a phone
my
call
slap
from
on the wrist moment. Yeah,
like,
my slap on the wrist moment. I'll cover the tab like that. That ain't nothing. Hey, there's probably a donor right now saying, "Hey, don't even worry about it. I got you. I got you. Whatever we need. As long as they didn't confiscate the national championship, I got you.
As long as we can still go to the playoffs, we Gucci, cuz.
We can go to the playoffs and we can go to bowl season. I got you. Now, there's a team out there that's at the depths of the college football ecosystem that probably has a harsher violations than them, like Akron, and what they got to deal with. Oh gosh. Far greater in my opinion.
That football program might fold, bro.
But this I can understand. Okay, 20 million, but I still got to go through because it's breaking news. I still got to go through and see like all the violations for it based on what Ross put out. But
he just highlighted the key things.
Yeah. So what? 4 years probation, can't mess up. $5,000 fine plus 10% of the budget for a football program. Sheesh.
I wonder who gets that money, or
I don't know.
How's that money dispersed?
That's very interesting.
Does it go to the programs that they like will it go to like a CMU? Like what we see Carter Stallions on the sideline with a CMU
the wealth of the wicked. It's stored up for the righteous. That's what it's giving off. A 25% reduction in football official visits during the 2025-2026 season. 14-week prohibition on recruiting communications in the football program during the probation period. So they said, can you win this fight with one hand tied behind your back? Sherrone Moore, did they have anything that come out as far as the games that he's able to attend, or did he get suspended? Or
he
in my opinion, the Michigan fans. Now that I know that, they're good. Michigan fans is like,
I already saw one said they said they said they slammed down their tiny hammer. Like Michigan fans are laughing at these sanctions, bro. You gotta love this sport.
I understand now. It makes sense. In a bigger perspective of it, I think it's been like this Michigan versus the world thing.
It really has
for a while now.
It really has.
Detroit versus everybody, but Michigan versus the world. And hey, I'm happy that they leaning into that identity. It's gonna be interestingly cool to see how they adapt to these violations. You know, how we pivot. But again, it's not like this is coming down on a program that don't got resources. Right. They got resources.
They
got money to blow.
Yeah, plentiful in Ann Arbor, man. Moon, I truly appreciate you joining the show. I gotta get out of here, man. This is fun. I say we do this next week when we both debut our college football playoff brackets. We'll figure out which episode to do that. We know, next week is a game week. The off season, that word we're not allowed to say here is slowly coming to an end. It's been fun though. I feel like we've been holding it down, man, with our shows. If you want to check Moon out, World of CFB, man. You a G5 fan, or you happen your HBCU was your alma mater, or a FCS team, hell, Division II. Who's one of your teams? Don't be surprised if it's covered on World of CFB, man. Truly appreciate your time, brother. We're gonna get ready to get up out of here, man. Hey, man, always, brother.
Hey, LSU top 5.
It's a really fun episode today, man. Shout out to my boy CFB Moon. This is fun. Shout out to the gang, man. CFB Nation for us being able to do something we wanted to do for so long, but we wanted to figure it out logistically in a way that's simple with our travel schedule. So the way that we have it set up, we'll still be able to put in our top 25 from the road, because a lot of times we'll be submitting this while we're on the road. Super fun episode, epic week. 5 episodes, 5-hour-long episodes. We'll continue to give you guys elite content. Next week is game week. I hope you guys are ready for it. We're going to cover every game in great detail, especially the big game in Ireland, Dublin, Ireland. So, as I always like to say, there are no more victories in a sport that survive in advance. That's why college football has the greatest regular season. And until next time, I'll see you guys on Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't be surprised if I do an emergency podcast over the weekend. Just don't be surprised if you see you be like, yo, why is the governor live? I might be talking more about this Michigan situation or anything else that goes down over the weekend. Credentials are starting to pour in. We will be going to the AFLAC Kickoff Challenge, both games. The Saturday game, Syracuse versus Tennessee, and then we'll also be going to the Sunday game, which is the Beamer Bowl. So South Carolina versus Virginia Tech. So super excited about that. More credentials will be rolling in over the weekend. Any important news that you guys need, like I say, don't be surprised if you guys get an emergency podcast over the weekend. You all take care. Do something nice with somebody that you normally wouldn't do. Really appreciate your family and be empathetic, man. And continue to troll in the world of college football. You all take care. Seems I lost my intro. Governor of college football. We're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two great
CJ
defensive
on
minds.
the
They have to be better on that side of the appreciate you checking out this video. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and also don't forget to check out the other content that we have here.